Welcome to another episode of The Truth Rebellion. Because in a world where lies law, truth is rebellion. We don't bow, we don't break. We speak what they silence. Yeah, welcome to the Truth Rebellion, where we don't bow, we don't break, we speak what they silence. We speak the truth, whether they like it or not. Because in a world where lies are law, truth has become a rebellion. And that's just the way it is, right? That's just the truth, bruh. Absolutely crazy, but it is true. Sadly, but it's true, though. It's absolutely the truth. It's so much the truth, actually, that, that's just what it is. It's the truth. I guess that's why it's called the truth. Rebellion, right? I mean, that makes sense to me. But anyways, so many things are going on in the world right now. There's so much going on. I was going to talk about some of it, but then we went off into a whole nother tangent. It is what it is. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. Everything's Gucci. It's all Gucci. So, here's the thing, bro. I'm still playing with this mic so much, bro. This thing does so many things, and I haven't even gotten into half of what they do, and I'm over here accidentally hitting the mute button and all sorts of stuff, and just crazy stuff. Let's see. Wait. You know what? What do we want? What do we want? What do we want? What do we want? It blends. It blends. It blends. It's purple. This looks blue. That looks more purple, but pink. It looks purple on screen, but pink. In reality, it's interesting, and the blue one looks like blue on screen, but purple in reality. It's really interesting. I try to do a different color, every single time or something like that. You know what I mean? Or maybe we'll color code certain stuff. When we're talking about specific things, maybe we do one certain color over another one or something like that. You know what I mean? That'd be pretty cool, bro. One of these, I'm pretty sure. Uh-huh. I don't know, we'll do something like that. I love light so much, man. You have no idea. I'm a light guy. That's exactly what I am. I love light so much, bro. You have no idea. I love lights so much that really, actually, I am so much into lights. You have absolutely no idea how much into lights that I am. I am a light guy. If my whole world could be nothing but RBG and LED and colorful lights, and some places with just classical white lights, Christmas lights, my whole life, all the time, everywhere, I think I would be a happy man, bro. I would be so happy. And what the heck was that? Squirrel! Just kidding. I really did hear something, though. I don't know what that was, but whatever. So, I was going to talk about so much that's going on in the world, but then we went off on a tangent about, core philosophies of, the show and all this kind of stuff. And, but, that's all important because it has to be, I guess it has to be said, right? So, anyways, what's going on in the world is, well, I'll tell you, okay. What you see, as I'm sure you know, everybody does, 16-pack, What's going on in the world right now is Nick Fuentes and Erica Kirk and Candace Owens and, so on and so forth. And while you have all this going on in the world, whoa. Is that better? Let me see here. Is that better? Does that feel more comfortable? I I'm not so sure that it does. Get off of me. Let's see here. Maybe I make this chair. Let me see if I could. Let me see how high it goes. It's high, isn't it? Ugh, is that more comfortable? I don't know. I'm a bigger dude, you know. I'm a taller guy, so like my legs, that does feel more comfortable actually. Like a lot more comfortable. My legs they're not like other people's legs. Like other people, you know, they don't need like all this room to stretch out, and they act like, you know, everything's Gucci. And I'm like, bro, like I feel like my knees are about to cramp up if you do that. Like I need a lot of leg room and a lot of back room. And I'm naturally also like a very relaxed, laid back individual. So like I naturally need just more like room to do stuff, bro. So anyways, in a world where lies are law, truth is rebellion, we don't bow, we don't break, we speak what they silence. And that's so true. I wish like I could like, I don't know, something like that. Actually, hold on a minute. That might actually work. It does feel better. Feels a lot better, actually. Yeah, okay, we'll keep it like this. Okay, so anyways, we started talking about like core philosophies and things like that. And as a result of that, what we also see is that what's going on right now, and we have Erica Kirk, and we have Candace Owens, and we have Nick Fuentes, and we have so much going on in the world right now. So, as I've said before, I was a huge fan of Candace Owens. I was in ideological agreement with Candace Owens. Probably 99% of everything that she said, I agreed with. 100%. And I still do believe in like everything that she used to say. And she still believes it too, so maybe I don't even want to say used to say. But then she goes into the realm of conspiracies. Like, we all know the deal. We all know the story. We've all seen it. Everybody has witnessed Candace evolve into where she is today, which is like a super, what people call a conspiracy theorist, right? Like Alex Jones. I love Alex Jones, by the way. That is not a hit on Alex, okay? And maybe she even perpetuates crazier conspiracy theories, even though I think that Alex Jones is right about like 99% of all of his. Candace Owens, I don't agree with some of the stuff that she says. Sounds really out of whack, but I find that it's interesting how she comes up to some of these narratives or whatever it is. And I don't necessarily condemn people for researching every angle. But, okay, so there's all that. Like, for instance, I don't know that the lunar landing was fake. I don't know that I believe that. Like, a lot of people believe that the moon landing was fake. She's one of them. I don't really necessarily know that I believe that, bro. I don't really believe that the moon landing was fake. I don't really think that. It's kind of crazy to me. I definitely know that the world is round and that it's not flat. I know a lot of people don't know that now. And I actually, when I talk to people, and I can tell that they're like, and I will just also say that I respect conspiracy theories a whole lot more than I respect people that absorb the entire mainstream news media narrative and only eat it and only digest it and only believe it. But now, like when I meet people and I'm talking to them and I can tell that they're not like an NPC, they're not like a formalized whitewashed Karen that's like completely cookie cardboard cutout of everybody else. When I meet them, when I hear them getting into really big conspiracy theories, like really ones out there, which some may be true, some not, I don't know. But when I start them speaking on that, I start to try to decipher, like use like a feeling stick or something to like poke out and feel like where they are and see, you know, what they think, where they believe, how far down the wagon they are. And I'll actually say, do you believe that the world is flat or round? And I really do. And I don't mean that as an insult. It's because I'm so used to, like, there are so many crazy theories out there nowadays, and nowadays, as a matter of fact, that like I really have to use that feeling stick just to figure out where you're coming from. Like I really have to actually decipher whether or not you think that the world is round or flat or fake or not. And they'll be like, what do I think the world is flat? Of course it's round. And I'm like, okay. I just had to make sure. Like I just had to know that I know for sure that you think that, because it's gotten so crazy. Like, you know, I've actually met people, not just on the internet, believe it or not, in real life, that believe wholeheartedly that the world is flat. And I've had discussions with them. And actually the interesting thing is that, like, I met these people before it was even like a viral thing. And I used to look at them like, what the heck is this guy talking about? Like, what? And they talked to me about spaceships looking like boats and all sorts of kind of stuff. And I'm like, oh, okay. I thought that drugs had gotten to their mind and they were lost, is what I believed. But then I found out that 90%, like there's this whole community with like all these like flat earthers, and like 10% of Americans believe that. And that's 30 million people, by the way. Like, you think that that's a laugh, that's a small joke, but really, well, 10% of Americans is literally 30 million people. That's a pretty large group. It's pretty insane, really. But so that's why I ask people, do you believe the world is flat or not? So I believe the world is round. I think that we did go to the moon landing. I believe that that's real. All the conspiracies are coming up now, you know, and some conspiracies I believe. I don't think that 9/11 is all normal. I don't think that, like, I know there's a new world order, there's a cabal, obviously. I don't believe in reptilian overlords, in the sense that I don't think that the people that run the new world order are a bunch of reptilians. I think that's a little crazy. But at the same time, I understand where there's a whole nother side to that, where people are saying, well, it's not that they're reptilians. It's that there's like these reptilian creatures that are telling them what to do. Now, I do think that that's a little out of whack as well. But then there's metrics on top of that, where some of the people say they're reptilian because they're from other planets. I don't think that. I think that's crazy. They're reptilian because they've been around for thousands of years. You know, I don't think that. That's crazy. But then some people are like, well, it's not that they're reptilians, bro, but they're demons and they look like reptilians and they're talking to devils and demons and they're worshiping Satan. And I'm like, that one might actually be true. Like, I could see that. I could subscribe to the idea that they're talking to a bunch of demons and the demons might maybe look reptilian, and then that's the reason where you get this idea that they're reptilians or whatever. Like, I mean, I could see that. That's not so crazy to me. It's not so far-lanced. And not that the people themselves are reptilians, but, you know, like they're all in a like cult or something, and they're all in the woods worshiping the devil, like Bohemian Grove, like Alex Jones shows, and that they might talk to devils. And I do think that they talk to devils and demon spirits. Absolutely think that they worship the devil and they talk to real, actual spiritual deities that are from hell, and that they're demonic, right? I do believe that. And what I'm saying is that maybe that when those demons show up, they look reptilian, and maybe they look like reptiles or something. And maybe that's where they're getting this idea, this notion. Maybe that's where that whole thing stemmed out of. People would see like demon creatures that look like reptiles and then started thinking to themselves that they're these physical reptilian beings that are from other planets or whatever, and they've been negotiating this whole thing or whatever it is. You know, I could see that. 100%. And I don't think that's so far outlandish at all, because, like, you know, people have seen like aliens and they think that they look like reptiles, or what they call aliens, or they've seen demons that look like aliens, like with Aleister Crowley and all that kind of stuff. I could see that for sure. In fact, it's probably true. Probably is true. But then there's this whole other, you know, like schizophrenic take on the matter, where you think that these people are actually reptilians from another planet, and that the people that and that they've lived for thousands of years on the planet and they're like controlling everything. I don't know. That's a little crazy, right? So, you know, it's just one of those things. So some conspiracies I believe, some I don't, you know, just kind of like everybody. I think that it's a lot crazier than we think it is. But also you have to discern between what's true and what's a lie, so you don't get really strange or get off basis. Now, Candace Owens has gone way off into every possible conspiracy theory you could ever think of, you almost come to the conclusion that there's not one conspiracy theory that Candace Owens does not believe, right? And, but I still don't hate her. That still doesn't make me hate her. I disagree 100% with her viewpoint on Israel and the Jews without a shadow of a doubt. That right there in itself makes me the subject of a conspiracy theorist. I have been called a Zionist and all sorts of things. I've had people accuse me of being paid money by George Soros and the New World Order. People and Bibi Netanyahu and AirPac and the Israeli groups of paying me $7,000 to post every post I put on there that's pro-Israel because nobody's really actually pro-Israel. Like, come on, bro. I mean, that shows you how out of touch with reality that you are. You really believe that Mossad is paying me money to post pro-Israel content? Like, you really actually believe that? Like, come on, bro. Just, you're gone. Your mind is gone. I really think that maybe you're so far gone in conspiracies that you don't realize that there's millions of people like me that agree that Israel has the right to the land and not Palestine. And we came to that conclusion because of the Bible, not because someone paid us to say it. And I love Israel. I love Bibi Netanyahu. I love the Jews. So yeah, hate on me with all that and be, whatever, anti-Semitic or whatever you want to be. Do I think Candace Owens is an anti-Semite? I don't know. What I think is that Candace Owens had a run-in with certain people. This is what I really believe, what I really think. Candace Owens had a run-in with certain people that happen to be Jewish, and she got into a fight with them, and it was a pretty public fight, and they happen to be Jewish, and she's not. And as a result of that, she was really mad at them, and then what happened is that publicly people started to accuse her of anti-Semitism just because of the fact that the people that she got into the argument with were Jews. Do I think that all Jews are good people? No, I do not. And I think that anybody that thinks that is stupid, right? I mean, that's just true of every group of people on the planet. Do I think that all white people are good people? No. Do I think that all black people are good people? No. Do I think that anybody is a good person? No. There's horrible human beings in every metric. There's horrible men, there's horrible women, there's horrible whatever else it is. That's just obvious, right? Everybody knows that has a brain and that isn't pretending not to know it, right? Everybody knows that. And I think that there are horrible people that happen to be Jewish. They're not horrible because they're Jewish. They are just horrible and happen to be Jews. And those would be your people like George Soros, right? Or like Chuck Schumer with the Democratic Party, people like that. Yeah, absolutely. Am I anti-Semitic because I think that Chuck Schumer or George Soros is a horrible person? No, absolutely not. That's ridiculous. But also, I think that what I notice is that I defend Israel and Bibi Netanyahu and the state of Israel and the Jewish people as a whole. And then because I don't like George Soros or Chuck Schumer or whoever, people have actually called me anti-Semitic because I don't like those people. And I say, well, see, here's the difference. And those people that call me anti-Semitic are anti-Israel. And they're anti-Bibi. They're anti-Jewish. And I'm like, okay, so here's the difference between you and me, right? I believe that Israel and the Jews, I believe Israel's God's chosen nation, right? And I love Bibi Netanyahu, God's chosen leader. And I firmly believe that the Jewish people as a whole are good. And then there's a few that I don't like. And you say that makes me anti-Semitic. While you prescribe to the notion that all Jews are bad and there's just a few that are good, the ones that are anti-Israel. And that's what stops you from being anti-Semitic. And I would like to tell you that that is the exact opposite of the notion, right? Isn't it? Isn't it only discrimination and racism and sexism or whatever we want to call it? Isn't it only that when you say that the entire group is bad, but there's some good apples? That's the definition of bigotry, isn't it? The opposite of bigotry is the whole group is fine, but then there's some bad apples. That's the exact opposite of bigotry, is it not? So, therefore, I think what happened with Candace Owens, and I really do truly believe this, that Candace Owens got into a run-in with some people that happened to be Jewish. That's what I believe. And I believe that she got into a bitter fight with those people, and they happened to be Jewish. And then as a result of that, when they started attacking each other back and forth all over Twitter and publicly and all over the place and everywhere you go, I think that what happened as a result of that is that certain people started to call Candace Owens a anti-Semite because of that fight with those specific Jewish people. I think that because they started to call her an anti-Semite, that maybe it actually made Candace Owens very upset, very angry about the fact that she was being called an anti-Semite, which it would make anybody mad, right? And I think that she felt like not only is she not an anti-Semite, this is me in Candace Owens' brain right now. Okay, so you understand what I'm saying. Like, I think that in Candace Owens' brain, not only am I not an anti-Semite, but I really was done wrong and there was an injustice here. And now they're calling me an anti-Semite for it. And then she thinks, well, they're only calling me that because they don't like the fact that I'm arguing with them. And that sounds all fine and dandy. But then when she sees that there's this entire group of people calling her an anti-Semite, it starts to make her angry about the fact, like, you're really trying to say that I can't win an argument right now just because the people that I'm arguing with happen to be Jewish, not because it's an argument about Jewish people? Now, I think you get to that point, you know, the same way that MAGA patriots feel about being called a racist, or, you know, the same way that they attack white people and say that I am a racist, white privileged bigot who's always wanted to murder anyone that wasn't white, and that I believe in Adolf Hitler, white supremacy, just because I was born with beautiful blue eyes and white skin, right? So because of that, I'm a Nazi who wants to murder everybody, right? And, you know, sane, rational people think that that's ridiculous. But what I'm saying is, like, the perpetuated narrative of the BLM would be that, right? And then because of that, that there's no way that Joshua Schutz has ever walked the face of God's green earth and not thought that he wanted to murder black people just because they were black. That's never happened. He's always been a white supremacist. And the fact is that he you know, whatever, blah, 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 blah. So, and the only reason he attacks Barack Obama is because he's a white supremacist. Instead of the truth of the matter of fact, which is that Barack Obama is the worst president in the history of the world, I would say Joe Biden, except the fact that Joe Biden never was president. And I also say that the truth of the matter is that there's a bunch of black people that are complete, enraged, bitter, small, tiny, raging, crazy, insane, idiotic lunatics, and that those are the black people that are perpetuated by BLM and Black Lives Matter, who also fit in that group of people, by the way, and that they're mad and bitter and angry at the fact that there's a straight white man that exposes them for all of their bitterness and hatred and anger and rage, right? That's what it actually is. And so therefore, the only way that we can try to discredit him is to say that he's a white supremacist. And we have to make it seem like that every single person that's ever been born black absolutely believes in murdering everybody and killing all white people, and that all white people are racist and privileged and blah, 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 and that's how we win this argument, blah, 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 blah. We are the perpetuated, only outspoken megaphone for the black community, and anyone who disagrees with it, including black people like Candace Owens, are a bunch of white supremacists and blah, 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 blah. Okay, so that's the take of the bitter, black-hearted, racist subsection of group that is within the black community, like your Al Sharptons and your Jesse Jacksons. Then you have your normal common sense people in the black community that don't even pay attention to that, And, they don't even really get involved in the arguments of politics just because they're trying to mind their own life and business. And then you have people that know that it's crap and are outspoken about it, like Candace Owens and various other ones, the same as you do people that are Trump supporters in, whatever community it is. And really, they're all the same. You have your crazy, outlandish fringe groups. You have your majority of people that think that that's all nonsense, but just don't want to get involved because they're afraid of politics and they see how nuts those people are. And then you have your outspoken, courageous people like Candace Owens, Charlie Kirk, Donald Trump, various others like me that don't really care what anybody thinks, and they're going to say it no matter what because they know that there's nothing more important than telling the truth. Now, what happens is that Candace Owens gets into an argument with people that happen to be Jewish, right? Like if I were like when I debate people that are radical, crazy, fringe group communists, but they happen to be black, so therefore I'm a white supremacist. Therefore, Candace Owens is an anti-Semite. And as a result of that, when Candace Owens tried to say, no, that's not this is what it is, and then she saw a whole community attacking her, no, you are definitely an anti-Semite, and that's what it is, right? And like me, where I would see a whole lot of people say, no, you are definitely a white supremacist, and that's what it is, right? And then I think the problem is that with Candace Owens specifically, that when she saw that and she recognized, how unjust it might have been for them to specifically attack her like that, and that nobody would defend her. I think that's what really got to her, where she started to see that she didn't feel like there was anybody in the Jewish community that would say, I know her, she's not an anti-Semite, she's just got a problem with these specific Jews. Right? And I felt like when she saw that it perhaps laid a root of bitterness, just saying it like it is. And as a result of that, she got so enthralled with anger, and she even said herself before that she has a problem with revenge and things like that. And I'm not attacking her for having those problems. Everybody's got issues in specific areas, but I'm just saying that it's possible that laid a root of bitterness towards the entire community as a whole, and she actually started to think, well, maybe there is something to these conspiracies about Jews and Jews running the whole world and da-da-da-da and the New World Order, and that she started to try to research that out, and then that leads to the libertarian and all this, and now everything you ever hear from her is anti-Jew, anti-Israel, anti-Bibi Netanyahu, da-da-da-da-da-da. Whether she's actually a white supremacist or she thinks that she's getting some sort of justice out of attacking the people that were falsely accused of anti-Semitism, and really maybe has a little bit of root of bitterness and hatred. I don't want to use the word hatred. Maybe not hatred, but a root of bitterness or vengefulness to get to those people, and went down this avenue. And that's now it appears as if she is a full-blown anti-Semite who wants to create another Holocaust. I don't think that she wants to create another Holocaust or anything like that, but I do think that that's possibly where she got to where she is, and why she's so anti-Israel, anti-Bibi Netanyahu. Even though I'm pro-Israel, pro-Bibi Netanyahu, and love the Jewish people, and I don't believe that the majority of Jewish people have an ill intent towards non-Jewish people, and that they would love to see Candace Owens go off the deep end because they want to see what's worse, the worst thing for her. I don't think that. But I do think that she might be under that persuasion because of the way that the fallout happened and the direction that it decided to go. Not to say that the fallout happened intentionally like that, or that there was some organized effort against her in that way. I don't believe that. But I do believe that in her own mind, being at this battle and feeling like nobody was there to help support her within that community, because maybe she just didn't know anybody that was willing to take her side, that had a platform big enough to try to maybe help her that way. And because of that in her mind, she sees organized effort, and maybe this means that all the Jews are out to get me. You know what I'm saying? Like, really, I do think that that's possible. And maybe it created a root of bitterness, and now in a vengeful take, oh yeah, you want to say that? Well, then I'll just go after Israel and all the Jews, and I'll just expose them all for being the lying hypocrites that they are. You know what I mean? Like, seriously, like, I really think that's kind of what happened. So I don't think that she's right to do that, and I do support the Jews in Israel and Bibi Netanyahu. And because I've said that so many times, you know, then you get these crazy people on there. See, what it is that he's scared of the Jews, and he's scared of Israel and Bibi Netanyahu, and he doesn't want to say the wrong thing because he knows they're all going to try to kill him the way they kill us. Ah! And it's like, nah, bro, chill out, homie, for a minute here. No, it's actually that I said what I said, and that's what I believe. Could you imagine that one? For the love of God, for all that is transparency and all that is realness, could you believe for a fact that I really mean what I say? Crazy. And for the love of God, because God's actual love, like God, help these people understand. Praise the Lord, hallelujah. And so, but at the same time, the reason why I break this whole thing down is because I don't hate Candace Owens. Candace Owens had a huge impact and influence on me. As I've talked about before, where she was talking about how the Democratic Party was trying to control the black community. I do firmly believe that. But not just the black community, also any community they could get their hands on, right? The welfare and the lower class community, as I talked about, and a whole thing about that. And that's why I became a Republican, similar to the way that Candace Owens became a Republican, because she saw how the Democrats manipulated the black community. And she was a Democrat her whole life. Same for me. I was a Democrat my whole life, and then saw how the Democrats manipulated the poor community into thinking that, you know, socialism and communism would save them. And then that's what led me to become a Republican. And now a whole bunch of people that are still under the influence of that lie, similar to Candace Owens, now all think that I have always been this hardcore GOP Republican and that I want death to all poor people and all this other kind of crazy stuff, right? So, okay. So since I've been firmly affected and influenced by Candace Owens and Charlie Kirk, and I'm around the same, we're in the same generation, I'm around the same age as these people, and as they came to the forefront in the public light is at the exact same time I was going through the transformation from Democrat to Republican and understanding that communism was trying to take over the country and was wondering why nobody was talking about it. So it's like you were raised in this group, in this movement with Turning Point USA, Candace Owens, Charlie Kirk, and this whole thing, and was a part of every single step of the evolution, step by step, all the way. And that's why the impact of Charlie Kirk's assassination resonates so big with the entire country, the entire nation, yes, but specifically with people like me and young conservatives, capitalists, or people that were with or advocated or were members of the Turning Point USA world and community, because we that were raised in it, specifically young people, we were raised alongside it in our, what you would call, maybe from the outside looking in, didn't feel that way in the middle of it, from the inside looking out, but from the outside looking in and looking back, what people would call the formulative years, which would be like your teens to early and mid-20s, right, of the way that you're shaping and thinking, the way that you see the world. And it's right in the middle of that. And at the time, you're just kind of going with the flow, and you're excited and you're happy and you're looking around and you're like, this is so amazing, man. Look at what we're doing. Look what our generation is doing. We're really going to change this thing, bro. There was nobody that was older than us that was doing it. There should have already been a Turning Point USA. The older generation should have already been going out of their way to help us all understand what communism is. They should have taken over the schools and the colleges and destroyed all this socialistic, communistic propaganda a long time ago, and Islamic propaganda and so much other propaganda, and showed the truth of capitalism in America and the founding fathers, who we are, what we're supposed to be. But they weren't, so it took us, the younger generation, it took us, 18-year-old Charlie Kirk, it took us, very young Candace Owens, it took us, very young conservatives and capitalists, to go out of our way to educate our own generation, because we saw the future and the fact that nobody was talking to us, and we ourselves had to pick up the mantle, as you would, and teach our own generation. And, you know, it's kind of like in the Bible, we had a hammer in one hand and a sword in the other. We were trying to build this empire of truth, capitalism, and the actual teaching of history, while using a sword to fight all the radicalized people that were trying to lie about America and propagandized and fight and destroy communism and the lies of socialism and indoctrination all at the same time, right? And that's really what it felt like for Charlie and Candace and me and everybody else. I'm sure that people could relate to that feeling. And when Charlie died, it affected the whole world, obviously, and affected us. I think people in it like that more than anybody, because there's almost like a childlike innocence that gets taken away at the death of Charlie Kirk. I know that sounds funny, right? Because we're all in our late 20s or early to mid 30s now. So like childlike innocence, like, what do you mean? Like, on paper you're a fully grown adult, but you still kind of feel like a kid. Like, I don't feel that different from when I was like 15 years old. And you had this idea, and I've heard Candace say this too before because it's true. You have this idea in your head where at the end of this whole thing, the end of this revolution, we're going to defeat and destroy the far left woke radical Democrats. We're going to stand on the top of their carcasses, the carcasses of the ideologies. We're going to stand on top of that gravestone where communism has died, and we're all going to stand on top of that mountain, and we're going to hold up a flag, and we're going to say, we did it, we won, we're victorious, and we're all going to celebrate together in the greatest country that's ever existed, with the greatest economy of all time, and happily ever after, because we have done it and we have won, right? That's where we feel it's going. And then when you see Charlie Kirk, really, the 2020 election makes you think this is nonsense. It should have been dealt with. But when you see, and Charlie was one of the most outspoken people on the planet for that, by the way, obviously, he's one of the only people that was on the movie 2000 Mules and sat there right in the forefront of everybody, telling everybody this election was rigged. Okay? One of the most courageous people that ever lived in this country. Love Charlie. And wow, then we see Charlie Kirk get assassinated on live TV. And I remember where I was and what I was doing. It wasn't that long ago. It's like 3 months ago, 90 days ago. I was sitting in Burger King right next to UAB on UAB's campus, and I was completely and emotionally wrecked. It was absolutely crazy. It was ridiculous. I was filled with rage and anger and sadness all at the same time. And I literally, God knows, for like 3 days, like 72 hours, I would not talk to another human being randomly on the side of the street. Like, I would call people like my family and people I know really well to discuss and talk about everything that happened. People that I knew were genuine, but I would not talk to any random people on the side of the street. And the reason why is because I was filled with so much anger and so much rage, on top of so much sadness and so much heaviness. I was so emotionally stirred that I knew that if I had talked to a random stranger in that 72 hours and I heard one word to insult or make fun of Charlie Kirk or that assassination in any way, shape, or form, that I was probably going to go to jail. I was probably going to go to prison because I would have gotten into an altercation. I would have beat the crap out of somebody, beat the crap out of whoever it is, anybody. I would have lost all rage, lost all temper, lost all anger. I would have damaged those people. And I knew it. Which is why, and I got into like some crazy screaming matches there. I was walking across the street at one point in time and someone had a car there and I was like screaming at him and, things you wouldn't do if he was under a normal way of thinking. And they had said something to me and I turned back and I went so ballistically crazy on top of these people and so loud out of my lungs, like out of my throat, like everybody in the entire intersection just shut up. They all just shut up and everybody's eyes hit the ground. They're all looking, they're all walking around. Everybody's trying to get away because they're afraid that I'm a lunatic, I'm a madman, and I've finally had enough and I'm going over the limit and I'm going to get these people, right? And the people in the car, they were screaming and shouting. As soon as they heard that, they just swoop, head down, totally quiet, and they're kind of like shaking and they're hoping I don't come to the vehicle and, like try to rip them out of the car or something. because I was in that much of a state of rage, which is why I just would not talk to anybody for 72 hours. Full transparency, I would just walk around and I would not talk to anybody. I would not allow myself to get into confrontations. I would not even go into stores to have some kind of an issue with a cashier over something stupid that has nothing to do with it, because I knew I was so angry and tired of the bull that I would get into the most crazy radicalized fights, and I did not know what I would do in that situation. So I completely, out of complete self-control and out of complete ideological preference, took my mind and toned it out and went into straight focus mode. And all I did was like walk around and pray to God, walk around and pray and control my mind and the way I was thinking so that I didn't jump off into a crazy wagon. And when I say crazy wagon, I don't mean actual crazy, like lose your mind. Duh. I mean, they would call me crazy because I would be filled with so much rage that I would destroy anybody who had anything to say to me. Right? That's how I felt about Charlie's assassination. It wasn't until after 72 hours that I was calm enough to be able to start to have normal interactions, like going inside of a store and asking for a cheeseburger, right? That's how angry I was. And I would break down in tears on the side of the street, and I'm like on the sidewalk, like crying my eyes out, people walking around like, what is wrong with this guy? Why is he doing this? Because, that was like the first day within an hour or so. And, a lot of people probably didn't even know about it, probably didn't even hear about it yet because they hadn't gotten home off work. They're like on lunch break and not checking their social media and I don't know what's going on in the news. And they just see this guy crying on the side of the street, you know what I mean? And I saw it. And, when I first heard that he had gotten shot, we all thought, we thought it was like he probably got like shot in the leg or something, or like someone tried to shoot him or it might have grazed him or something like that. That's what we were thinking. We definitely didn't think that he was shot anywhere fatally. And when we found out where he was shot fatally, and when I saw the video myself, I was telling everybody, I was messaging them back and forth, and we were talking to them about, where was he shot and all these kinds of things. And when I saw the fact that he had been shot and I saw the video myself, I didn't even want to share it with anybody. They were like, I was telling them I saw the video, and everybody was like, send me the video. It was right before it went viral. And I did not want to send it to him because I was so broken inside, and I knew what that meant. I knew what happened. And I was trying to tell them, and I knew that they would feel the same way. I was like, I don't even want to send this video to you. I don't want you to see it. And they're like, no, I got to see it. I'm like, you don't want to see it because it's gonna remove all hope from you about what's going on in this situation. It was that horrible, right? And we were all extremely affected by the Charlie Kirk assassination, which is still almost hard to believe, right? It's almost like a piece of you still blocks out that it's even happened, right? There's a piece of you, there's like a wall there where you're still like just going through normal everyday life because you're still trying to coincide with the fact that you're even dealing with these things, right? You're still kind of like, there's like almost like a, I don't know that you call it trauma or whatever it is, but it almost feels that way. It's like traumatized. It feels like almost a wall of almost denial in a way where you're like, everything's still Gucci, everything's still great, da-da-da-da-da-da. And you're trying not to think about it. I still, even talking about it, I try not to even take myself to the place where I saw and imagined and lived the whole thing in a real world experience because I don't want to be there because I'm too far raw and emotional to it. And I don't even really want to even think about it. So we think about everything that's happened since then. And I feel that way. Especially, the whole world feels that way. Especially affects us even deeper. People that were raised in the movement at the same time coincided one-to-one with it, right? Like we grew up in our formative years. It morphed us into it without us even really knowing it. But we grew up alongside it to the point where we are now a product of Turning Point USA and Candace Owens and Charlie Kirk even existing in the form, right? And vice versa. And I'm sure they feel that way too. And what it does is it almost removes some sort of childlike innocence, as strange as that sounds, right? Because you are already fully grown. But you have this idea, like Candace Owens said, where we would all be sitting on top of the mountain and laughing at everybody because we defeated them. And now you look back at it and you're like, Charlie's not here for that. Charlie doesn't get to see that. And he was the founder of the whole movement, and he did nothing wrong and everything right. And it's a complete injustice that happens, right? And as a result of that, hold on a minute. Okay, anyways. Sorry about that. I had to go to the bathroom, bro, and it came out of nowhere. And anyways, so like I was saying, Charlie didn't do anything wrong. He did everything right. And that's the reason why he went through what he went through. Not because he did anything wrong, but because he did everything right. And that's why it's so unjust, and it's complete injustice that this happened to Charlie Kirk. And like, if anybody didn't deserve that to happen, it was Charlie, right? If anybody deserved to make it through and hold up the final victory flag at the end of the mountain, it was Charlie Kirk, right? And he was only 31 years old. He was still so young, older than me, but young, you know, and he didn't deserve to have any of that happen to him. Nobody in that family deserves any of that. And so that really traumatized everybody, right? And especially those of us who grew up in the movement, who are one with the entire movement. Turning Point USA, not just as a organization, but as what it really is, which is way bigger than that, a movement to save the youth and destroy the far left propaganda, to save the youth and destroy the far left propaganda, to save the future generations and the United States of America as a whole. That's what it is. And it took away like a childlike innocence. It's almost like, because when you see that happen, you're like, it rips something deep down inside of you, right, out. And it feels totally different after the fact. Like, almost like, it's almost like the Dead Poet Society. Like, have you ever seen that movie before? With Robin Williams, where they have this idea, it's the youth, and they're going into these things, and they have the ideas about how things are supposed to happen, and then a guy commits suicide, and it rips out this childlike innocence from them. It almost feels the same way with the death of Charlie Kirk. If I'm just being real and I'm being transparent, that's almost how it feels. It feels like that. And now we're in the aftermath of that. Yes, as a nation, as a country as a whole, yes, but specifically people that are my age, right, our generation, Candace Owens and Erica, who, it's way harder on them because they knew Charlie. And our generation as a whole, that's how it feels. Almost like a childlike innocence is removed. Like, you are not just batting with the big leagues, you are in the big leagues, and you're so much in the big leagues that they're so threatened by you that now they're trying to kill you, because really, actually, you're at the forefront and the front line of this whole entire thing, my friend. Now, we feel that way. Now, you can't imagine how much Candace feels that way, which, let me tell you, and I'm being frank right here, is the reason why I do not believe that Candace Owens has any ill, malicious intent when it comes to her conspiracy theories about Charlie Kirk's assassination. Now, let me say this. I personally don't believe besides the crazy far radical theories out there, like Israel and Bibi Netanyahu and the Jews, I don't believe that at all. And all these other crazy theories out there. Charlie had many enemies, obviously. I don't believe any of those crazy theories. And I don't necessarily believe that there's even more limited theories in the sense of there being multiple people involved, or the FBI, the CIA, whatever. I definitely do not believe that Turning Point USA had anything to do with it. I don't believe any of that. I do believe that it's very possible that Tyler Robinson was the guy that shot Charlie Kirk, and he's on trial for it. I do think it's the far left that got rid of Charlie, because those are the people that hated him the most, obviously. Besides the spiritual element, it being the devil that's really behind all of it. I do think that it's very possible that it was a one-man shooter, and it's a crazy, weird thing. I also think that it would not totally surprise me that there was multiple people involved in the idea. I don't think Turning Point USA. I don't think people that were close to Charlie. I don't think Israel or Mossad or Bibi. I don't think, people that were supposedly friends of Charlie. But I do think that if there was multiple people involved, that they were all probably a bunch of far-left lunatics, right? And I'm not saying that there is. I'm saying it is possible that it was a one-man shooter. But what I am saying is that I don't believe that Candace Owens specifically has ill intent, and that's why she went off on this thing, okay? I don't believe that. When people try to, like they'll put up memes and they'll show Candace Owens looking in a mirror and saying, go in there and make it about you, right? And people calling her a narcissist and all these kinds of things. And people I even know really close to, people that are really close to me, will tell me she's an evil, horrible, lying, manipulative woman, and all she wants to do is make the entire thing about her. She is a psychopathic person, and she secretly hated Charlie Kirk, and she's mad at Turning Point USA, and this is a revenge tour, and she's really just doing it for attention, and so that she becomes the #1 podcast in the world, and she gets hundreds of thousands of dollars, millions of dollars off of it, so on and so forth. I don't prescribe to the idea or the notion that that is a thing and that's the reason why Candace Owens is saying what she's doing. I do not believe that. Now, here's what I do think, what I do feel, and what I do believe. Okay? I believe, like I said, we've all been extremely traumatized by Charlie Kirk's assassination. And I do believe that Candace Owens knew Charlie really well. She was raised in the movement with Charlie. She's a product of Charlie. The only reason there is a Candace Owens is because there was a Charlie Kirk. I think that she was really close to Charlie, that they had a genuine relationship. I know, call me crazy out here, but when I saw them face to face on TV and on social media all the time, and they were constantly talking to each other, and they have videos of each other off the screen where they were having fun with each other and listening to music and everything else, call it hard to believe. I really believe that there was an actual friendship and relationship between the two. Call me nuts. It's hard for me to believe that Charlie Kirk would even promote Candace Owens to such a level if there was not an actual relationship between the two of them. Doesn't make any sense. Okay? Now, do I think that Charlie Kirk distanced himself from her because of all the conspiracy theories she went down? Maybe. I don't know. I'm not Charlie Kirk. I'm not Turning Point USA. I'm not the family, and I'm not involved. I don't know what was going through Charlie's mind. I'm not Candace, and I'm not her side in their world, and I don't know what's going on in their mind, what happened with them. I don't know those things. So I don't perpetuate that they did or didn't happen. I have no clue. Okay? But what I do think, and I show a lot of respect to everybody involved, because I've seen and been with these people since day one and defend them all from everybody all the time. I would get attacked and call the white supremacists and everything else under the sun as well, just for defending people like Candace Owens and Charlie Kirk and so on and so forth. And as a result of it, people that I grew up with that said that I was a white supremacist. Crazy. And I lost all respect for them because I realized that you like have no spine, that you would literally lie through your teeth like that. And anyways, so as a result of that, and because of it, I think, this is what I think, that because Candace was already going through it, right? Candace, first wave she comes out, she's attacked by the black community, or at least the woke version of the black community that all has a microphone and a camera in front of their face, and maybe not the entire black community as a whole. And she's attacked and she's called by the far left and the Democrats a white supremacist. And she's subpoenaed before Congress. And they go after her in every way you could ever think and say, do you hate black people? Do you worship white people? Do you wish you were white? Is that why you married a white man? Do you secretly want to be white? Do you go in the mirror every day and secretly think about your skin turning white? You know, like all these crazy perpetuated narratives, you know, almost like all of this projected Sigmund Freud psychology onto someone's mind that, you know, Candace always talks about, and she's 100% right about that subject, by the way. That stuff needs to come out, okay? And all these ideas that they would try to project onto Candace Owens. So she's already at war with all that, which anybody on the right wing, anybody that's been here from the beginning with MAGA and all that, we know, just like Donald Trump, just like Charlie, just like all of us that have been completely ridiculously attacked from the time the whole thing began. Now, on top of that, then she has this thing go on with the people who happen to be Jews, and she feels like nobody takes her side, even though she feels like she earned some sort of credibility for defending what she's been defending for like a decade before it happens, or half a decade, however long it is. And that creates what I think is very possible for a root of bitterness and vengefulness, which she has even said herself that she struggles with, to where it turns into a, okay, well then I'll just make it anti-Israel, anti-Bibi, anti-everything, and maybe even gets put under the impression that there is something there, and that's why she does that. She has this huge public falling out with Ben Shapiro, who is Jewish, by the way, and the Daily Wire, and leaves there and creates her own show, you know, so on and so forth. So now she had that entire battle with the far left. Now she's coming through this battle, and this is all raging while this is all happening. And she's probably going through a lot of heights of emotional instability and warfare fighting, and the tolls and the fatigues that to get taken on from constant warfare, right? Then she watches Charlie Kirk, who she has a deep relationship with, who made Candace Owens a household name, and she helped build Turning Point USA right beside him. This person she was in tune with every step of the way. Like for the first 3 or so years there, those two were completely inseparable from one another. You could not go anywhere without seeing one and out seeing the other sitting and standing right next to them. They were in the middle of streets with protesters around them threatening their lives, standing together as the only two in the streets together going through the fire right alongside each other, right? Then when Charlie gets assassinated, that probably, not just probably, definitely does hit Candace Owens deep down inside of her heart and her soul, 100%, and it is a very difficult thing to process. So when you add that kind of emotional turmoil on top of everything else that she's already seen and observed and everything that's going wrong, then what you get, and now she's already into the world of conspiracy theories and doubting everything, and even going as far as to say that she believes that the moon landing is fake and so on and so forth. Whether you perpetuate in whichever specific conspiracy theory you agree or don't agree on or whatever, that doesn't matter. The point is that she's in a lane where she thinks this kind of way. I think it would be very easy for something like that to happen to Charlie Kirk, with all your personal stake in it, all your emotional turmoil that's going on, and now just added ridiculous amount of emotional turmoil connected with the fact that you also think the way that you do about conspiracies and so on and so forth, and seeing conspiracies that were true, like the JFK assassination and almost every other assassination in the entire history of American politics. It's really easy for somebody to jump automatically into the fact and the idea of this was definitely some sort of governmental conspiracy and they are behind the killing of Charlie Kirk, and to emotionally be moved by it, and to think and feel and mean everything that you're saying, not because you're trying to become the number one podcast, not because you're trying to make money, but because you're actually trying to destroy the forces that went after Charlie Kirk. I think and firmly believe that 100%, and it's really hard for me to think or feel anything else. I think that it is just as, kind of calloused, if you would, to automatically prescribe to the notion that Candace Owens does not care about Charlie Kirk and is walking all over everything. It's as calloused as that would be if that were true, to sort of kind of do the same thing to Candace and say that, and walk all over that and say there's no way that she actually cares anything about Charlie. Like, it's just as callous to perpetuate and show Candace Owens in a light of heartlessness as it would be if she really was doing that to Charlie Kirk. Both of those are equal in callousness to me. I don't like either one of those. So, with that being said, like I said, that doesn't mean that I prescribe to the ideas or the notions of Candace. That doesn't mean I necessarily agree that there was more than one shooter, because I'm not sure that I do believe that. I do think it was the far left. I do not think it was the Jews. I do not think it was Bibi. I do not think it was Mossad. I do not believe 90 to 99% of all conspiracies about it. I am not sure that it was a lone shooter, and I could understand that idea, theory, or conspiracy, and that if something comes out to be that way and we find out something like that, sure, blow it off the top of the wall and let everybody see it. It needs to be seen as the truth, justice. But I'm also not saying that it's a guarantee that that is true. It could be just a crazy loon, right? I don't know. But what I do know is that even though I don't prescribe to those theories, this is what I think. I think everything I said about Candace. And now, put that over here for a second. Now, here's what I think about Erica Kirk and about Turning Point USA. I do not believe that Turning Point USA was involved in the assassination of Charlie Kirk. I think that that is insane and a ridiculous statement to believe. I definitely know the fact that Erica had nothing to do with it. It is so ridiculous, I don't even really feel like giving it the light of day to pretend that that's even an argument that's existing in the world right now. I think that Turning Point USA and everybody involved and everybody that was on the Charlie Kirk show and so on and so forth, that they are under the same amount of stress and emotional turmoil and baggage and warfare fighting and fatigue as Candace Owens is. I think that Erica obviously is under that more than anybody on the face of the planet, maybe besides the exception of her children, whose father was murdered on live TV. And I think that right now, the real honor and legacy of Charlie Kirk is to defend that woman and those children and his and that family more than we do anything on the face of the earth right now. And to honor those people and that family is the definition and the only real, true, just way to fight for Charlie Kirk. I believe that 100%. And as a result of that, whatever Erica believes is the final motion and final sentiment and statement and opinion on the matter. If Erica says it, I go with it, right? So, in recent news, as everyone knows, within the last, whatever it's been, 24, 48 hours, whatever it is, we see that Erica has broken her silence on Candace Owens and the entire conspiracy theories about the Charlie Kirk assassination, and so on and so forth, right? We see that she has talked about the subject. Erica Kirk has went on live TV and said in a Fox News interview, as you can see, I have the clip up, and I'm sure everybody's already seen it anyways, where she went out of her way and said, I am so sick and tired of the conspiracy theories and narratives that are being perpetuated about Charlie Kirk's assassination. And she said, and she's talking about Candace Owens specifically, you have this podcast, and it's now the number one podcast in the world, and you're making hundreds of thousands of dollars off of every single episode talking about the conspiracy theory notion of Charlie Kirk's assassination. And she said, you can blame me all you want to, which we never would, Erica. And I know since you're the inside looking out, you feel like there would be nothing wrong with them attacking you, but not somebody else. But really, my beautiful friend Erica, it would be 10 times more heinous if they attacked you more than they do them. But from the inside looking out, because of the honor, says, I don't care if you attack me, but if you attack my family and my Turning Point USA family, goes out of the way to mention my Turning Point USA family for the assassination of Charlie Kirk, you're horrendous. You need to be deplatformed, de-examined, and stop it. Shut up, shut your mouth, and stop it. That's what she said. Obviously talking about Candace Owens, who blames Turning Point USA. Now, here's what I think. One, if Erica Kirk says that, then we do it, okay? Just like the woman in that interview who, after she said that, said, okay, and that's the way that we will start saying it now on the show too, right? And hold up your book, because she's supporting whatever Erica says. I agree with that, because I am too, and I do too, and will continue to, because Erica is untouchable. Now, that's a direct shot to Candace Owens. Now, the interesting thing is this. Candace Owens, and as you've probably seen on X and Twitter or wherever social media is, said from the beginning of this entire rabbit hole that if anybody could tell her to stop, she wouldn't stop. But if anybody told her to stop, if Erica Kirk told her to stop, then she would stop. That's what she said. Those were the words out of her mouth. I'm not putting words into her mouth. That's what she said. You go back and look at it. And now Erica has come out and said to stop. Now, I break down Erica's response in a couple of things too. One, she went out of her way to say, if you have, this is basically what I gather from that subsequent clip in that interview, that 30 to 45 seconds, right? This is what I gather from that, right? A couple of things. One, Erica Kirk is firmly under the belief that there are no conspiracies involved in the situation. Number two, she specifically thinks that people are only saying that there's conspiracies involved in the situation because they're trying to make money. An example, a few $100,000 from every single episode. And number three is that she is thoroughly convinced and does not like the attacks on Turning Point USA, what she calls specifically her Turning Point USA family. Those are the three major things I gather from that report. Now, why that's interesting is not just because Erica said it so shut up, which I agree with, but also because she's more of an insider to the situation than everybody else. So if she perpetually thinks that, then there's some merit, obviously, to it. If she really believes, if she says don't attack Turner Point USA, then we don't. If she, and she said they don't have anything to do with it. So I believe that she knows that, right? And I already believe that anyways. And if she says to stop, stop, and if she thinks people are trying to make money, that's from her insider perspective. That's where she's coming up with. So it makes us think to ourselves, well, there's got to be something going on there. Otherwise, she wouldn't have said that, right? And that's what people are thinking now. People are thinking, like, if other people were to say that Candace Owens was going off the wood wagon for saying and doing all the things that she said, we might agree with them, but also that's their theory, that's their opinion, that's how they feel. But when Erica says it, it gives a lot more real world anchored evidence to the fact that it's probably what's actually going on, right? So we listened to that, obviously. You'd be crazy if you didn't. And I think that Candace Owens' response after that comes out, I think the very next response from Candace Owens, going in accordance to what she said in the very beginning, that if Erica Kirk told her to stop, that she would stop, that her only credence to that situation and the only response that she could have to that situation would be to stop. That's what I believe. Now, if you know Candace Owens, and you know her like I do, as well as I do, you've been watching her all these years, you know that that's probably not what's going to happen, right? Because Candace is so hard-lined, opinionated, and so controversial, and so aggressive, and in the fact to go after anything and anyone, and so highly opinionated, it'd be very hard to get her to turn her back on any opinion she has about anything. The minute that she thinks that she's latched on, she's made up her mind about a situation, there is nothing in this world that's going to talk her out of it, right? And like a self-fulfilling prophecy, we see that becomes the reality when Candace Owens responds back to Erica Kirk on her own show and says, Erica Kirk's being irrational. And she goes out of her way to try not to attack Erica on a one-on-one personal basis, but she goes out of her way to try to give Erica some sort of benefit of the doubt by saying she's just such in an emotional frenzy because of everything that's happened right now that she's not thinking rationally and she's thinking emotionally, and she doesn't understand that I'm doing this for Charlie and her and her family, not because I'm against Charlie or her and her family. That's the product of where she's trying to come from, right? I do think she's wrong for it. I do think that if Erica Kirk tells you to shut up, then you shut up. That's what I believe. But in all fairness, I'm also trying to disannul the fact, because there were a lot of people that used to say, and Candace addresses this too, that Candace said that Erica exclusively had something to do with the Charlie Kirk assassination, which I think is ridiculous, and everybody with a brain in their head thinks is ridiculous. But Candace Owens was going out of her way to reaffirm the fact that she never specifically said that Erica had anything to do with it, which is true. She never has. She never did. I used to debunk people all the time because I hear them say that. I'm like, I never heard those words come out of her mouth, because I give people the benefit of the doubt and I call things down the middle how I see them, right? Not what I want people to hear or say, because it helps my argument, right? So I think that Candace is still trying to not attack Erica, because if she did, that would be blatantly immoral, and I think we would all get pissed off and upset about it and say, no more of this. And she's trying to come from the idea where she is trying to still fight for what she thinks is true, or what she says is true, which I don't agree with, and I think that she should stop because Erica told her to. But she's trying to do it in such a way where she's saying, I'm not attacking Erica or accusing Erica. I'm just saying that I feel like Erica is in such a grieving state that she's not looking at everything from a full perspective. That's what Candace said. Not what I said. That's what Candace said. Okay? And that's really the only angle that she could probably come from. Since then, Erica Kirk also went on a couple of other interview stories with, and she's promoting Charlie Kirk's book, which I'm going to get, obviously, Stop in the Name of God by Charlie Kirk. And really, can we just take a moment and take a second to recognize the fact that Erica Kirk is going through everything that could possibly go through from a human being? She is literally going through hell on earth. And she has done it in the most poised and positioned and most beautiful and elegant way that a human being could possibly do it on God's green earth. Can we just say that for a minute? Yeah, can we just... give Erica Kirk a moment to recognize the fact and clap for her and give her a standing applause, a standing ovation at the fact that she has done this so heavily and hard and perfectly at this moment in time? Can we do that? Because she deserves the recognition for it. Being attacked by the far left and just the left and the far right and the woke right, which is what we call it. And even people on the right wing, the center right, yeah. And everybody. She's being attacked by literally everybody. And it's the most disgusting, evil, irrehensible thing. It's pure evil. There's no other word for it at all that I've ever seen in my entire life. And she continues to go, and she will go, and she'll go stronger than ever. And it should literally be condemned. It should be completely, universally, unanimously condemned, the way that Erica Kirk is being treated by these people. People talking about her jewelry and saying that she's making money off of the death of Charlie Kirk. If Erica Kirk could trade all the money in the world, all of its wealth and riches, every last penny of it, to have Charlie Kirk back for one day, I bet your bottom dollar that she would do it, right? And the same for her children, obviously. Now, with that being said, Turning Point USA has exploded, and there's a movement. I don't know if you've noticed or not, but the whole point of Charlie Kirk's entire life, like his whole destiny, the whole reason why we have this Turning Point USA thing that God created. Charlie Kirk was the vessel, but God himself created it, was to end the far left woke liberal nonsense of communistic and the foreign influence of foreign powers and the World Economic Forum and the New World Order to control and manipulate our youth into becoming us to be one generation away from communism and tyranny and to completely destroy the United States of America from the inside out. That's the whole purpose and point of Charlie Kirk and Turning Point USA. And now that it's exploded in growth, we not only are fighting to defend his widow and children and put them in the light that they deserve to be put in, which is national treasures and, the most protected group of people on this planet right now. But on top of that, to honor the legacy of Charlie Kirk for all that he did in life and who he was and who he is and what he actually meant. And on top of that, to continue the torch and actually do what he set out to do with Turning Point USA and the campuses and education to fulfill the ultimate calling where none of this goes in vain, which is to make America great again. Right? Obvious to me. All one in one with the gospel of the Lord Jesus Christ, right? So, And we will do all of it to that degree and level 100%, whether you like it or not. Now, so that also means this. Since Turning Point USA has exploded and over 100 million people streamed the memorial service to Charlie Kirk, which was a giant revival tent, by the way. And that's more than have went to any funeral in the history of the United States. Do you understand that? That's crazy. Even more people than MLKJ and like JFK and various other people. Crazy. And God honoring his martyrs, right? So, with that being said, and Charlie Kirk is really even the reason that inspires the whole show. The whole reason why we made the Truth Rebellion is because of what happened to Charlie Kirk. Like, we always flirted with the idea for a long time, for years. Been very outspoken on social media for a long time, but just never decided to record it. And then after what happened with Charlie, it's like, you know what? We're just going to have to go ahead and say it out loud so everybody can hear it, right? It just has to be told. Now, if you go back and look at the timeline, you'll see that it started right after the fact, right? So now, as a result of that, what we have is Candace Owens saying that people accusing Erica Kirk of taking money, all that money furthers the advancement of Turning Point USA and the saving of the children that are being controlled by communism inside of our colleges and need to be reworked to make America free again. While all that's happening, right, Erica Kirk shows the lion inside of her, the lioness inside of her, which is there, very bold, very outspoken, righteously angry. Shut your mouth, Erica Kirk, which we love, and I'm sure we're going to see a whole lot more of her coming in the coming days. She's a great leader. And while this woman is still grieving, right, and now she's telling Candace to shut up, and Candace should honor that and keep her mouth shut, honestly. Then we go into the fact that Erica Kirk goes on to CBS News. And CBS News, which is the most shameful and humiliating news network in the history of all of cable television, even worse than CNN, should be completely abolished, banished, and condemned. Banished straight to the shadow realm. I already made a whole video talking about this. For whatever reason, Twitter doesn't want to upload that video, even though it's well within the regulations of the time frame of what's allowed to be uploaded on Twitter, well within it. Doesn't want to upload it, no matter how much I tried, and I tried like 7 times. I uploaded it to YouTube. That one worked. Then, as proof that it has to be something to do with that, I go to YouTube and share the link to the video, so it's not like it has anything to do with data or anything, right? And then that refuses to get uploaded, and it says failed, draft. Never happens with any other video, never happens with any other shared content. So don't try to talk to me. I swear it could be this and that. I don't know. It's really weird. It's really shady, especially after that second one wouldn't upload. It's really weird and shady because that one was just a link to the video. I don't know. It's really weird. And I tried to go back and press send again, and it doesn't work. Even on the link, send like 3 times. Does not work. Really weird. But I talked about the fact that CBS is the most shameful thing I've ever seen in my life. These people literally invite Erica Kirk onto the show, and they try to ambush journalism her into asking her questions about Charlie Kirk's divisive statements. And they talk about all this BS, bullies, for that's what it is, right? And they tried to invite a widow, a grieving widow, on national TV to accuse her husband of being a Nazi and the next Adolf Hitler, and hellaciously attack his entire character to her face while she's grieving on TV in front of a live audience because they think that that's funny. And if that's not sick and soulless, I don't know what is. If anybody were to do that to any widow at any point in time that was grieving, it would be hellacious. Okay? If someone were to invite a widow over to their house, not in public TV, in private, to insult their husband to their face, not even call them the worst things, but just insult them a little bit, it would be hellacious. For them to go a step further and try to get that widow to agree is more hellacious. Let's make it even worse. What makes it even worse is you're not just insulting his eating habits or something like him eating too many bananas or drinking too much soda, but you go beyond it and it starts to be a personal character thing. So like attacking him for being an alcoholic. That would be even another level of hellacious. But let's go even further. You're not just talking about that. You're actually trying to paint him out to be one of the worst people that's ever lived in the history of mankind, in the same wave and brush lengths as Adolf Hitler and neo-Nazis and killing 6 million Jews and Mao and all of these sorts of things, right? That's the pain. So it becomes irrehensible. But let's take it even further. You didn't just do it behind closed cameras in the private eyes of someone's house, which wouldn't have worked anyways, but you try to do it on public TV, on live TV, in front of everybody with a public audience. So it becomes the absolute most shameful thing that a human being could be. It becomes even more incomprehensible and repulsive and irrehensible when that person's a widow, not just because their husband died, but because their husband was murdered. You take it a step further, it gets even worse because they weren't just murdered, they were assassinated on live TV, and the assassination was in front of everybody, and it was because of their politically held standards and for no other reason, right? And their belief in Christ. But those are one and the same to me. They go in conjunction with one another. So it becomes the most irrepressible thing. When you add the fact that it was Charlie Kirk, who is one of the greatest and most courageous people that has ever lived or existed in the history of the United States of America. I don't know, like I told you, I hear weird sounds in here sometimes. Like someone trying to open my door or something, and I wish they would, really. But anyways, so when you add the fact that it's Charlie Kirk, one of the greatest and most courageous people that has ever existed in the history of the United States of America, completely courageous, completely fearless, and completely stood up and stood for what is right and what is true and what is just, no matter what anybody had to say about it, it becomes even worse, right? It becomes so close to irrehensible, so close to the devil, so close to the father of lies, so close to Satan, so close to damnation, that you almost feel like it's almost aligned with the devil himself and hell itself. Well, it's not even almost aligned. It is perpetually, completely aligned with the devil himself. It is completely wicked. It is completely dark, demonic, and satanic, and is filled with nothing but malicious and ill intent to its very core. It is the closest thing to pure evil that you have probably seen in the public square since the Adolf Hitlers and the Maos and the Joseph Stalins of the world. These people are disgustingly irrehensible. The fact that you would do that on live TV in front of a studio audience when she's on there to talk about her late husband's book, and by the way, it's only been 90 days, 3 months since he was murdered. And you're really actually trying to get people to believe, while Charlie's in the grave, you're trying to still attack his character, that he was a Nazi. That motivation for that, where that motivation comes from, right? Where that will comes from, where that wicked, evil, incomprehensible, pure darkness comes from, where that evil comes from Satan, from hell itself, that spirit be damned. That is a damned spirit. that is speaking that. That comes from a place of damnation itself. That's where that comes from. It comes from the land of the damned. That would make such an evil accusation. The same place that assassinating Charlie Kirk comes from. It comes from the damned. It comes from hell and Satan himself. It comes from the devil. And the motivation of it comes from the devil as well, to try to do that to Erica Kirk on live TV and really act like that's not what you're trying to do. Really sit there and look at her and try to get her to agree that Charlie Kirk was some sort of a racist or a misogynist or a Nazi and all of that insanity, all of those insane lies. To really try to get her and actually look at her in the face and say that to her on live TV, I wish you would. Because, Erica Kirk's maybe got a lot more patience than me. If you said that to me on live TV, I might have backhanded you right across the mouth. I might have actually hurt you on live TV and wound up going to jail. And they'd be like, oh, no, God, Josh, you can't do that. You're going to wind up in jail. They're going to get you in trouble. And I literally look at you and I don't care. Was that supposed to scare me or something? I was supposed to be threatened or intimidated by the fact that I'm going to jail? I still punched you in the face. And you're lucky that's all I did, because it could have been a lot worse than that, my friend. A whole lot worse. It is the most irrehensible thing I've ever seen on TV. CBS, their fate should be no less than to completely be incinerated and wiped away from the face of all human history and all news networks that have ever existed in the history of modern television. No different. And now let me help you understand something. I wasn't saying that I'm not calling the people who said it damned, like they're beyond redemption in Christ. I'm saying that spirit and that motivation is damned. And unless those people repent of that action and they find Jesus Christ, the Lord Jesus Christ, as their Lord and Savior, that's the ultimate ending of where that goes, okay? So they deserve no less fate than what Twitter got with X when Elon Musk bought it. And he added insult to injury because he did not only buy Twitter, not only changed completely the way the entire thing operates and its entire motivational and cultural ideological preferences and ideologies and analyticals and cultural ideas and identities. He not only changed the entire way that they think, but also took it a step further by obliterating the fact that they ever existed, removed the name Twitter and turned it into the name X, removed the entire color scheme and replaced it with a different one, removed the entire blue Twitter logo, which was iconic at one point, and replaced it, disintegrated it. He buried it. It was an act of God's judgment that Twitter has been erased from the public spectrum forever, and we don't even know what it is anymore. Now it's X, because X marks the spot of Twitter's grave. They are dead now. They don't exist anymore. And when we saw them taking the Bluebird down, you go and watch the news and you see the Bluebird being taken down and X being put up. That's literally what it feels like. You're like, wow. Elon wasn't just trying to change the way Twitter works. He was adding insult to injury. He was banishing them to the shadow realm. He was erasing the fact that they were ever a thing. He was sealing and fulfilling the fact with explanation points that Twitter will only ever be remembered. Their entire legacy of Twitter and the blue bird and the check mark will only ever be remembered as a shameful discrimination of how they turned into a far left woke radical group and how they had to be punished on live TV and replaced from the inside out for every generation here on out to come to. That's the remembrance of how Twitter will be remembered. He, and I know he did it on purpose, irrehensibly went out of his way to make sure that nobody in the future ever thought any different about Twitter. That their entire legacy that they built up so hard to create over decades, and they were so iconic, and the bluebirds everywhere, and they were going to go down as a legacy of the turning arc of the century and when social media took power, similar to Facebook, right? But they're actually going down as the biggest propaganda network that has ever existed in the history of mankind. And that's why he did it. They were being, and make no mistake about it, it was God doing it. Elon thought he was doing it, but God turns the heart of the king any way he wants to, and God was actually using Elon to do it. The same reason that Elon actually wound up making so much money and bursted onto the national scene from 92 a share to 900 a share with Tesla and became the world's richest person in 2019, right when the pandemic happens, because God was actually lifting Elon up at that point in time for that purpose, to get him to the position where he would have the power and the ability and the money to do something like that, to bring judgment down onto Twitter. That's really what it was. Twitter was damned by the Almighty God. And that's really what it was. It's really what it is. Pretty crazy when you think about it, but not totally, because it's true. You know, you can only go so far, and then God says, enough is enough, bye-bye. And in a day, what is Twitter? Doesn't even exist anymore. No less desirable fate deserves to befall upon CBS News and all of their nonsense, whether someone buys it out straight or whether, they just go bankrupt and no one's ever heard of them ever again. Whichever. They deserve the same type of treatment only because of the way that they acted and treated Erica Kirk in that 30 seconds of that interview. They are the first people that had the audacity or the boldness to really try and ask Erica Kirk straight to her face, is your husband a Nazi? Do you have something to say about the fact that your husband's a Nazi, right? They're the first ones that actually trampled upon Erica while she was grieving, only 3 months after the fact, I mind you, that Charlie Kirk has been gone. In live TV in front of a live studio audience, right? That's crazy. That's insane. And you could even see, and I feel so bad for Erica Kirk, so sorry that Erica has to go through all that. But Erica is also a lioness, and she's very strong, and she probably doesn't even see it like I'm going through anything. She's like, I'm just going to eat these people alive. And really, you could even see the look that was on Erica's face. So horrible, man. You can't even imagine what was going through her mind when they started to say that. You see the look on her face where she's almost like rolling her eyes. She cannot believe the fact that these fools are going to ask her such a stupid question on live TV. You could really think that you could really see that she's going through her head and her mind right there and right then, and saying to herself what we were all thinking, what I was thinking, what I was seeing when I was watching it. Like, you really think that this is the point in time where you're actually going to try to make this a political conversation. Like, you're really going to try to actually demonize the man when he's in the grave, not even 3 months after the fact that he's been shot on live TV in front of everybody. You're actually going to accuse him, not just of having like bad moral character traits, but of being a Nazi. Of being a Nazi on live TV. That's what you're going to do. This is the avenue you're going down. You have decided in your heart that there is nothing sacred, there is nothing irreprehensible, and there's nothing wrong with the fact that this man was assassinated on live TV by a nutcase in front of everybody, because you're going down the avenue of the fact you want those people to die because they're obviously a bunch of Nazis. You have decided in your heart, and that's why it's so dark and so wicked and so evil, that you believe that the perpetuated motion going forward is that Charlie Kirk was a Nazi and that we should out here kill every single last one of them. That's the projection of the narrative that you are trying to create. And no responsibility for the fact that you're the reason why Charlie Kirk is dead, because really you're an extension of his assassin. His assassin is nothing more than an extension of your blatant lies about an innocent man and an innocent human being. The same reason why they tried to kill Donald Trump. And while they'll try to kill anybody else, they try to kill in the future, right? And you, the clowns that you are, the complete, utter, shameful, humiliated, court-gesturing fools that you are, actually think that I'm coming from a strong place and this is what we're going to do. We're going to call them all Nazis so they'll kill everyone because we're on the right side of history. Yeah, okay. Yeah, it's a bunch of bull. That's what it is. And, I'm just warning you, if you keep going down that wagon, whatever a man reaps, he will also sow. Okay, that's what the Bible says. God will not be mocked. Whatever a man reaps, he will also sow. And I'm warning you, as a friend, as a human being, if you continue to go down that avenue, it will not lead to any future where you somehow escape the political chaos that happens as a result of your nutcasery. Do you understand that? You understand that, right? That's not me telling me that I'm going to do something to you and come after you in some kind of crazy way, although I'm sure that's what they would try to say, right? Because they're so evil. But what it is a warning that whatever a man reaps, that will he also actually sow. If you continue to sow lies like that, there is no world where it does not come back and smack you in the face right at the worst time, and you wind up worse than the people that you tried to attack. It's just the way that it works. Now, CBS should be just totally, they're abominable. They should be denounced by every other media platform. They should be banished to the shadow realm by everybody else before it becomes crazy enough for everyone to act like this is a socially acceptable thing and a socially acceptable narrative and a socially acceptable thing to say to the grieving widow Erica Kirk on live TV, who is now being attacked by the far left, the far right, and everybody else in between. And it's the most irrehensible, disgusting thing I've ever seen in my life. And we will put an end to it. One way or another, I'm gonna find you. I'm gonna get ya. One way or another, I'm gonna find you. I'm gonna get ya. Shameful is what it is. To say the least. Shameful to say the least about it. It is the most wicked, incomprehensible thing I've ever seen. The only person that matches that level of wickedness that I've seen so far since that action is Barack Obama. When Barack Obama went on TV, live TV, and basically tried to say the same thing, except he didn't do it to Erica Kirk's face because I don't think that he would have the spine to say it to Erica Kirk's face. But he goes on national TV in an interview like, well, let's not forget that Charlie Kirk said some things that would maybe cause... No. Let's not forget that Obama is the biggest ass that has ever existed in American politics, right? No coincidence he comes from the party of the ass, right? Let's not forget that Obama has sowed more discord into this nation than any human being that has ever existed in the history of the United States of America, that he is a Muslim that has perpetuated pro-Islamic narratives, that his middle name is Hussein, and it's not by coincidence, it's because it's his radical ideologies motioned, that maybe possibly every conspiracy theory about Barack Obama is true, and that he is the very definition of all that hates America and was completely supplanted and subliminally put into American politics to destroy the United States of America from the inside out, has created more division, and that his entire so-called legacy, which is really just a remembrance of how evil somebody is, will be perpetuated in the history in future for all time to come as exactly that person, a complete foreign agent put into the White House to try and subvert and destroy the United States of America from the inside out. He will have no legacy, and everything that mentions Barack Obama will be put to dust and shame and ash by the time that it's all said and done. So let's not forget that. Who cares what Barack Obama has to say about anything? We don't care what Barack Obama has to say about anything. We don't even think twice about the words that come out of Barack Obama's mouth, except for the fact that this is the biggest fool that has ever existed in the history of American politics, and he will be put to shame for his foolish actions and exposed for his lies and his corruption and what he tried to do to the United States of America. That's coming from somebody who supported Barack Obama in 2008 and 2012, which I did, because I did not know that Barack Obama was who he is, okay? That's what it really is. So screw Barack Obama, get rid of him. Screw CBS News, get rid of them. Hillary Clinton, what? Why are we even talking about her? Why are we talking about a witch that talks to the dead, that tries to come into the White House? Why are we even talking about her? She's such a loser. She couldn't even make it to the realm of President of the United States. Like, why is she even in the conversation? She's go away. No one's talking to you, Hillary. You'll never be president. Pat you on the head. Go get you a little juice cup in the corner and, console yourself and talk to yourself. And I really won the presidency of the United States. I really won the 2016 election. It's all Russia. I'm telling you, it was some Russians that got me. Yeah, go sit over there in the corner in your little, mental astounded padded cell and talk to yourself while you're drinking juice boxes all day about how the world's just not ready for a female president of the United States. Just like Kamala Harris, who fits into that as well. Kamala Harris, oh my God. The black Indian, is that who you're talking about? Are we talking about the black Kamala? Or are we talking about Kamalea? Are we talking about Kamalewalawa? Are we talking about Kamala? Like, who are we talking about? Kamala? Who are we talking about? Because I don't know. Are we talking about the black Kamala? Or are we talking about the Indian Kamala? Or are we talking about the white Kamala? Is there one? There may be. Just keep on watching, folks. Maybe if the whole world decides that wokeism is wrong and everybody wants to be white to outdo the anti-white racism that's happened in the last 10 years, maybe Kamala becomes white. Did you know I secretly was actually white? Nobody knew it? Yeah, this whole time. It's crazy, I know. So what Kamala are we talking about? Who is that? What are you even talking about? Indian Kamala with a red dot? Or are we talking about Indian Kamala, the Native American? Like, which Kamala are we talking about? Like, who are we talking about? Oh, my God. Goodness gracious. And CBS News. Oh, my God. Goodness gracious. And so, with that being said, also, Joe Biden. Oh, yeah. That guy was never even president. Okay, sorry, we're not here to talk about mentally disturbed patients and individuals. Please be escorted to your seat, sir, and go in the corner and talk to yourself, because we don't have the capacity for somebody that is not mentally stable enough to know what realm they're in right now to talk to us about politics. Okay, yeah, oh yeah, the vanilla ice cream, that's the one you like? Oh yeah, okay, well, there's your vanilla ice cream now. Go eat your vanilla ice cream out there in the corner, guys. Everything will be okay. Go sit down. Oh yeah, I know, it's really a sad story what's happening to him. We're really trying to talk about how we're gonna give this over to Kamala Harris, and I don't think he knows yet, but his wife is really not so loyal. She's kind of been cheating on him here in the last few months because she knows that he's mentally unstable, and we found out that his kids were on crack and all this kind of stuff. Oh, no, don't get up. It's okay. You want other ice cream? That's fine. Don't worry. We'll come back to you. Just go sit down. We'll get it all for you. We don't want you tripping on the way to the ice cream bar or something. We don't want you to accidentally hit your head while you're trying to go get some Baskin Robbins, okay? Just go sit down in the corner, Joe. Everything's okay. Now, it's not okay, because Kamala Shaba, when I came to the things, and Jiminy Cricket escorted me upon the Himalayan mountains because I was your Americana. You know what I mean, though. Yeah, no, seriously, I'm being serious, guys. When we took it and we went and then we found out that the crack rocks were moon rocks, and that's how you got. Stop blowing up the boats because it's racist, man. Yeah, anyways. Yeah, that's right. Okay, everybody, clap. No, seriously, clap, because if you don't, he won't shut up and he won't leave us alone. Come on, everybody. Oh, yeah, wow. Ooh. Now go sit down now, and we'll bring you your ice cream soon, okay? Who are you talking about, okay? And so CBS needs to be destroyed, like Barack Obama, the clown, and the lying court jester. Well, Joe's a court jester. Obama's maybe even... I don't know. Wait to see how that guy's going to end up. Yeah. Okay. And Barack Hussein Osama bin Laden. Anyways, so the Egyptian pharaoh. That's really what it is. That's really what it is. He wants a third term, and I promise you that's what he's going for. It's why he's all over the place. It's why he's talking all over the place. Where's it coming from? It's coming out of the blue. Why is he doing this? Looks like he's running for president. But we can't have no third terms. Well, when they find out the 2020 election was actually rigged and they overturn it, and then they say this is the reason why Trump should have a third term, Barack Obama will say, well, if Trump gets a third term, then I should get one too. And then he'll try to come out of candidate like that. But then the thing will be, yeah, but the problem is that, and he would lose. Donald Trump would destroy him in a landslide, all 50 states, if he ran against Obama. And he would have in 2016 or 2020 or 2024. He won the 2020 election, by the way. But the thing is, the difference is, Barack, that the reason why Trump gets a third term is because he actually had the election stolen from him. And there was real foreign investors, unprecedented, never happened before in the history of the United States of America politics, and found out, and therefore deserves a third term. And maybe not even election to determine it because he already had one, and he won. He's won 3 elections, quite literally. And Obama, you're the one that rigged the election in 2020, which is why you deserve to be in prison for the rest of your life. Okay, so we understand how that works right there. Right. Awesome. Great. Glad we had this conversation. Anyways, so Joe Biden, or, who cares about that fool? Okay, CBS News and Erica Kirk, and what they did is completely incomprehensible. And then I watch, and you see that the Democrats are really trying to go hard here. They really think that we're going to believe after 3 months or however long it is. Let me tell you what the strategy of the Democrats is right here, okay, and the liberals. And I'm telling you this right now, weeks and months and maybe even years in advance. I'm telling you this right now. The strategy of the far left and the liberal media and the Democrats, their strategy for Charlie Kirk is that they're trying to outweight all the initial rage and anger and people getting upset about the fact that Charlie Kirk was assassinated, right? They are trying to, this is how evil and wicked these people are. Not only do they not care about the fact that he was assassinated, but I promise you, the only thing in their mind isn't, let's stop political assassinations from happening again. Let's stop calling people a bunch of Nazis. Let's actually care about human beings and quit pretending that they're a bunch of far-right Nazis so that we can stop political violence. Let's stop this from heating up and we need to cool it off. That is not what they're thinking inside of their head. What they're actually thinking is that is not even in the premise of their frontal lobe. It does not even appear as a thought in the way that they think. It never even pops into their mind that they should start doing that. What really pops into their mind is this, as follows. We are going to try to outweight the initial rage because they're that out of touch with society and the right wing and patriots and human beings that they really believe that the initial outrage of Charlie Kirk's assassination is a result of just initial outrage. They don't believe that it's a deep level thing. They believe that it's a shallow thing. They believe that it's a natural, shallow outrage of a particular moment, and that after enough time, when the initial shallow outrage goes out, that there's no layer of depth or deep or rootedness deep down inside of our spirits and our hearts about Charlie Kirk. They don't believe that because they don't have any depth. They don't have the capabilities and capacities of feeling those things that heavy and that deep. So because of that, they really believe that nobody even thinks that way. They have such a lack of honor and dishonor, so perpetuated in self-motivations and lies and political theaters, that they lack the ability to even know that it's possible that human beings have another level of depth. They're all just a bunch of animals who run around and have sex with dogs and everything else that moves because the only thing they ever think about is food and sex. The emotionals are just a bunch of electronic electromagnetical signals running through the brain and chemical imbalances, and that has nothing to do with the human soul. People don't really actually do things because of courageousness or righteousness or truth or justice, and there's nothing in human history that's ever actually been authentic, and they really were fighting for these things, and that's the epitome of human greatness. That's not real. All of that was because of self-motivated ideologies, and everything you know about human history is actually a lie. Nobody had a courageous thing, and George Washington wasn't really super courageous trying to create the United States of America. He was really just a self-centered person who was trying to get his place into history and become a dictator tyrant, and that's the same of every other person that's ever existed in the history, because we're all just a bunch of shallow people that watch goofy, corny TV shows all day long and laugh because the green color turned red while we eat Baskin-Robbins ice cream and all sit around getting high, because that's as far as the human brain ever thinks. And anyone who thinks otherwise is a complete liar or a fool or a tool. And really what we actually think is that they're just a liar. They're lying to us. They don't really think that deeply. What, they think we're all stupid or something? They're trying to take our pizza. That's what it is. You know, they don't possess the capability of feeling things that deeply and that motivationally, because they've given themselves over to that insanity. They've given themselves over to pure, self-motivation, hate and greed and lying and perpetuate a narrative so much that it's become a part of their personality, and it's hard for them. They don't even really think or believe in a human soul or a spirit or anything that goes to the depth of a human being, which is why they really don't believe it. I don't think it's that they're trying to pretend that we don't believe that we actually believe it. Is that they actually don't believe it, and that's why they actually don't think that the Charlie Kirk assassination goes that deep within us. And because of that, they actually believe that they have the abilities and capabilities of just outweight the initial rage that comes from the Charlie Kirk assassination, because all it is, the same reason why they attack Erica Kirk. The same reason why they think Erica just wants the money. Look at all her jewelry. She's not really grieving. Look at her and J.D. Vance. The only way that anybody actually ever really believes that is if they themselves would have done that, if they were in that position, if they were in that person's shoes. That's where they get that from. They don't have that kind of deep, empathetic take on life. That's why they're fine with murdering babies like 12 months after conception, so 3 months out of the womb. That's why they're fine with cutting children's genitalia off and, doing all this other crazy stuff with them. That's why they're fine with, lying about who people are and calling them a bunch of Adolf Hitlers and projecting their image on everybody. It's why they're fine with killing kids just because they're white. It's why they're okay with these things. It's because they don't have that level of depth inside of them. So they automatically, because they don't see. And it's not that it was impossible for them ever to have it. It's that because they subjected themselves to the world that doesn't possess that so much, that they've become so one with it and enthralled with it, that they've lost base with the fact that anybody would choose an alternate decision. That's what happens, kind of like Darth Vader or the Sith or the dark side. When you give yourself over to it so much, you become so interwoven with it that you almost start to believe the lie that you ever had any other motivation or anybody else does to begin with, and it was always darkness, and that's all it ever was, and you don't know the power of the dark side, Luke. That's really what it is. So that's why they think that Erica's inauthentic, because they would be inauthentic and they would do those things. That's why their strategy, and I'm promising you right now, in far in advance, I'm telling you before it happens, their strategy is that they don't understand how deep and heartfelt and spiritual the level of Charlie Kirk's assassination went into the hearts and the spirits of the human beings in America and on the face of the earth. They don't understand how deep that went. And because of it, they think that it's just some shallow way to try and get everybody to start feeling pity for the right wing, and they're going to use it as a political metric for the right wing to gain votes. That's what they think, because that's what they would do if it was a left-wing person And because they think that, their strategy is, if we just hold on for the initial outrage, right? We just kind of hold on and wait for the fact, then we'll be able to finally attack Charlie Kirk and say that he was a white supremacist and he was a neo-Nazi and all these things, and maybe people shouldn't have been outraged by his death anyways. Maybe